How you doing, everybody? All right, it's Ren week over here, and what are we checking out? Ren, chapter 5. Let's get into it. Let's go.
I tried to cling on to music in whatever ways I could during the time I was sick. During my time in Brighton, whenever my energy would allow it, I'd get myself out onto the streets and I'd go busking.
Nice.
About once every 3 weeks or so. It was my second year in Brighton, and I remember one evening heading home with my guitar and my busking amp after a couple of hours of playing on the street. I remember hearing this amazing ethereal voice while heading through the lanes, and I saw that it was coming from this 16-year-old kid. I've always had a deep admiration and feeling of camaraderie for buskers.
Yeah, me too.
There's something about the willingness to be able to bare your soul to a street full of strangers that really moves me.
I agree.
I noticed that the kid didn't have an amp. He was singing totally a cappella, but you'd only hear him if you were within a few meters of him.
Ooh.
I knew from years on the street and singing a cappella than myself that an amp can change everything. I had this compulsion to offer him mine. I approached him and I told him that if he plugged in and sang while I played guitar, the whole street would stop in its tracks.
Okay.
And I was right. His voice soared across the street and people started stopping.
Yeah.
Not long after, we had the whole street's attention. Something quite magic was happening.
How do you have footage
This
of
was
this?
the first day that I met Sam Tompkins, someone who would be integral to my whole life changing later on. He had a friend with him.
I'm shocked that he's got a lot of this older footage. But I guess, no, not really, because he's probably young, right? How young is he? He's in his low 20s. So yeah, there's a lot of cameras. I'm just thinking, I'm too old. That's my problem. Anyways, it's really cool to see this kind of footage here. And yeah, let's go.
Someone who would be integral to my whole life changing later on.
Really?
He had a friend with him, this guy called Connor Honeysett, who would later go on to be my manager. For now, they'd just be a couple of teenagers that I'd have to help out on my way home. It's funny how life works like that.
Yeah.
I kept up to date with what Sam was doing on social media. There was a part of me that felt like his successes allowed me to live vicariously through someone else who lived an alternate reality where I never got sick. He was getting videos on SBTV, writing and featuring with some amazing artists, and there were quite a lot of similarities in our writing styles, and all at such a young age. I wasn't really able to do any of that stuff at the time. I was mostly bedbound with the exception of the odd day that I'd be able to go busking.
It makes you wonder how much quicker or sooner in his life would he have made it big and made it famous if he didn't have the sickness and illness holding him back. Comment below, let me know what you guys think. Do you think that, like, in the grand scheme of things, the sickness and illness and all that he had made him who he is, and that is what also helped push him to stardom? Because, you know, he persevered through it all and that kind of thing, and he's got an amazing story to tell? Or do you feel like if he wasn't sick at all, like he was perfectly healthy his whole life, would he still be here now? Would he still be as popular? I'm curious to know what you think. Comment below, let me know.
For the time, I was mostly bedbound with the exception of the odd day that I'd be able to go busking. It could have been very easy for that feeling to turn into jealousy, but it never did. I felt truly proud of him. Years later, we go on to write a song together called Blind Eyed, which would transform the trajectory of my whole career. During this time, I was still desperately jumping from one treatment to another treatment. And now that my diet had become more limited, I was trying new diets with no luck. As the options in the alternative health world started to dwindle, I started searching for answers in the divine. In the former years, I had moments where I found myself sitting in churches, talking in tears to whoever might be listening, or experimenting with energetic healing modalities like Reiki. With time, my searching started taking even more unusual turns. I started looking to things like exorcists.
What?
Once you exhaust all rational explanation.
No. He really turned to exorcists? What, he thought he was possessed or something? That is crazy. Well, again, he's tried everything up to this point, hasn't he? He's tried everything medical science has to offer. He's Google searched everything. Nobody can explain what his problem is. Can you imagine being like, maybe I'm just friggin' possessed, right? Like, what?
Realities like Reiki. With time, my searching started taking even more unusual turns. I started looking to things like exorcists. Once you exhaust all rational explanations and treatments,
there you go.
The irrational suddenly starts looking more palatable. I had a skeptic's mind, but I had nothing to lose because there were no other good options. My friend Momoko's mother was from Japan. She aligned herself with a sect of Buddhism called the Nichiren Daishonin.
Buddhism?
They would chant a repeated phrase over and over again while holding prayer beads. The chant would go, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo.
What is that
Over and over again. Its intention was to align you with your innate Buddhahood, to cleanse you of any bad karma and put you in alignment with your true destiny on earth, to find peace, to find tranquility. Momoko's mum gifted me with my own set of beads, and I began to chant every morning.
Isn't it crazy though? Like, I guess not crazy, but it's something, eh? Like he's like was so focused on getting medical science to find a cure, and then he just gave up. Now he's like turning to religion. He's like, all right, let's see if I'm got a demon in me. Let's try Buddhism. Let's try Buddhism chants to see if I can cleanse, my soul. Wow.
Eventually I joined a group in Brighton after a serendipitous meeting with an incredibly eccentric, bright, colourful suit-wearing piano tuner. He spotted my beads and he grinned at me and he pulled out his own. We'd sit in a small group and we'd chant for hours sometimes. There was something comforting about trusting the course of my life and illness to an incomprehensible power outside of myself.
Yeah, well,
I spoke openly in these meetings that I loved feeling part of something, but that I really struggled saying with certainty that I believed in it. This was the issue I faced with every religion I temporarily aligned myself with looking for answers. Something in me couldn't bring myself to take ancient texts as gospel, all too aware of how man twists so-called spiritual doctrines to suit his own power-hungry pursuits.
Whew.
I wanted divine proof.
That's the main thing everybody wants when it comes to religion, right? Sorry, the kids were talking just outside my door again. Yeah, so that's what most people want when it comes to religion, right? They want some divine proof. It's like you read these ancient texts and they're written by man, and they could easily be manipulated through man or through whoever wrote it can write it in a way that is made so that you get the populace to do what you want or to act the way you want, right? And then to transition power back to the church and in some religions, and not trying to crap on religions here, but I'm just saying, I agree with what he's saying. It's like he was a skeptic because he doesn't want to read a man-made book. He wants divine intervention.
I sometimes screamed at the sky or the waves and begged for it. I was answered with sickness. If there was a creator, I was angry with it.
Can't blame him, I guess.
The irony was that I envied people of faith. I felt like people who truly trusted themselves to a higher power seemed to possess a level of calm and acceptance that I didn't.
That is the truth.
One of my stranger encounters was going to see a shaman. The shaman, of course, was a middle-aged white woman in a quite nice-looking cottage in Brighton. She told me to lie down, and she proceeded to lean over my body and made noises like coughing up phlegm, while speaking an unknown ancient language that seemed to include whistling noises. After about 20 minutes of making distressed groaning noises over my back, she paused in contemplation for a while and proceeded to tell me that I'd been killed by a sword in my past life.
What?
She made sucking noises near the supposed stab site on my chest, and then she spat into a bucket. She then placed a little stone into my hand, and she told me that I had to bury it on a high hill in Brighton on the next full moon. The most depressing part of this story is during the next full moon, I did indeed find a big hill, dug a small hole,
Why not,
and I buried
right?
the stone
Just
in
do
it.
it.
Surprising to say, fuck all happened.
Really?
It was this journey
Of course.
into the spiritual unknown that led me to a very unsettling experience. I located a therapist online who had claimed to overcome ME herself.
Really?
She specialised in it and dealt with people's past trauma, but also worked with energies like Reiki.
I actually found somebody with the same ME diagnosis and somebody who beat it. So now he's got to follow those breadcrumbs, right, and figure out what's going on here. Because at this point, he's like burying stones and visiting shamans in cottages and doing everything he possibly can. What a story this guy got. I can see why he wrote it all down.
Reiki. I had to get the train to where she lived. She met me in the car and drove me in silence back to hers. There was a bit of an unusual energy about her. I've always been really good at reading people. I can't quite explain it, but sometimes when I meet someone, it's like I have a sixth sense for whether or not they'll play a significant role in my life.
Oh, interesting.
This person's energy felt alien to me. When we arrived at her, she told me that she sometimes would consult with her horses about people's health conditions. It was at this moment I knew that she was probably insane. Nonetheless, I shared a lot about my life. We got into the trauma of living with sickness, what it was like to constantly mourn your own life. It was comforting at first, and it felt like a safe space, until it got a bit weird.
Oh, okay.
One day she offered me a glass of water before a Reiki session, and during the session I fell into a deep sleep.
No.
When I came around, multiple hours had passed, which was peculiar for me. I usually have issues with sleeping and couldn't drift off, particularly not in unfamiliar environments. She assured me it was total normal and to get plenty of water, and I thought nothing of it.
Wait, did she
Lines
drug?
started getting somewhat blurry when she'd invite me for meals with her and her husband. I took it as friendliness, but I noticed that she started messaging me outside of clinic hours. One time I agreed to create music for her in exchange for some extra sessions.
Okay.
Not long after, I started getting...
Hold on. What? Okay, so he visits this person trying to get sessions. She's like, here, have a glass of water. He has the glass of water, falls asleep. He's just like, oh, maybe I just drifted off. Because he did say he's always in a constant state of being tired, so maybe he felt he fell asleep. But he's like, I normally don't do that in strange places. But then, all those little other things he mentioned about getting texts now, and, oh, I don't know. Is she drugging him on purpose or something? What is happening?
Music for her in exchange for some extra sessions. Not long after, I started getting strange messages in my Facebook inbox. She started telling me how she knew that all my previous songs had been about her, which they hadn't.
Okay.
When I dismissed this, she would sometimes message me saying that she was outside of my house, telling me that our souls were bonded and that bad things would happen to me if we weren't together. To put it lightly, I was already in a pretty weird emotional place because of years of sickness. So having someone in a position of trust abuse their position like this shook me, and it shook my trust in therapy even more.
Oh, great.
It shook my trust in people in general. I told her to never contact me again, and I blocked her, but she would still occasionally get through on other numbers. One time she'd phoned my mum's house relentlessly. My mum, knowing the details, told her to stop harassing me and threatened to get the police involved after things which went silent. This was also the year that I met my second ever girlfriend, who I'd later be engaged to for a short amount of time.
Oh, got engaged. Okay.
My little sister had already set the relationship up in her mind. She met this girl in Bristol who she got on with super well, and somehow she wingmanned me and planted a seed in her brain that she'd be perfect for her older brother, me. My sister's friend had moved to Brighton, but I was blissfully unaware of this matchmaking. At this point, I was living in a house share in Rose Hill Terrace in Brighton with some lunatics I'd met at Ben's house, and Momoko had moved down from Cornwall. The house was only meant for 2 people, but Momoko and I had pretended we were married, and pretended that we were going to have a baby to be able to get it. As soon as the deed was signed, we moved in with about 5 other friends, one living in the living room, one in the attic, one in the study, one in the conservatory.
What?
It's safe to say rent was pretty fucking cheap.
Reminds me of my first house. When I went to college, we rented a place, and oh man, it was 4-bedroom apartment, so we had to split it 4 ways, but the lady who was in charge of it was taking over for somebody else, and she signed the papers at half the price of what the owners wanted. And then, but we didn't know any difference. They're just like, here's the paper, like $800 a month or whatever, and we signed it, so $200 per person each. And then we were locked in a contract with it, and then when the owners came back and were like, well, you did what? And then we lived there for 2 years at like 50% of the price divided by 4. It was amazing.
One night my friend Luke was throwing a party and she rocked up with a few of her friends. My sister had pretty good taste in girls and I had a crush on her instantly. At some point in the night, we both ended up lying on my bedroom floor on a bunch of sofa cushions while about 6 other people were sleeping in various places in my room. One somehow in the upper compartment of my wardrobe. True story.
Really?
She asked me to tell her a bedtime story, and I made up the most unhinged story I could think of. By some sort of miracle, she found my madness endearing, and we ended up kissing a lot and staring into each other's eyes till we fell asleep.
Here we go.
It's strange navigating a relationship when you're sick. I couldn't go out to eat at restaurants because I was allergic to everything.
All right.
I didn't have the energy to do most normal things that couples do. Some days I'd be so full of brain fog that my personality disappeared, and it was hard to explain that to someone without them thinking that maybe you were just being a bit off with them.
Oh, right.
I think losing Joe, losing Callum, losing the record deal, losing my last girlfriend, it had all made me wary of getting attached to good things. Quite a lot of my illness made me feel ugly, and it's hard to accept love when you feel ugly. Nonetheless, she did love me, and with time our relationship grew.
Wow, okay. Maybe it's for good, right? Maybe it's for the better.
It was around this time I was contacted by a woman called Jennifer Breer, an incredibly inspiring woman whose journey seemed to parallel mine. She was an incredibly ambitious PhD student at Harvard who one day was struck down by a mystery illness that confined her to a wheelchair.
Whoa, okay.
She spent most of her life tirelessly searching for a way out. She was doing a Kickstarter to raise money to make a film called Canary in a Coal Mine. It would later go on to be renamed Unrest, and it would go on to win multiple awards, and it's still watchable on Netflix to this day.
Is that any good, people?
It's an incredibly important and very moving documentary about the horrors of living with ME. I recommend everyone checks that out.
Okay.
At the time, I started health blogging. I created a series of video diaries that I named Me versus ME. It would be a video document of my various trials with different alternative treatment approaches, and generally a look into the life of someone with a chronic illness. I didn't know it back then, but those videos would save my life. I guess I was occupying a place that was
So
needed, as
young.
quite quickly many people in the chronic health communities gravitated towards my videos. Every day, I'd be sent messages telling the stories of the people who had fallen in between the cracks in the
Whoa,
floorboards.
look at the pile of
There was
clothes.
heartbreaking stories. Stories of frustration and confusion. People mourning.
That's it. When you put yourself out there on the social media and you're like, you don't realize how many other people are going through similar things as you. Like, I don't know if many could say that are going through everything that Ren is going through. He's a pretty unique case, I think, but specific parts of his life, right? For sure. And like, you get all these people here trying to offer help from random people. Like this guy's like trying to give advice, and then other people being like, stay strong. And then, I'm going through the same thing. If you find an answer, let me know. It's like, yeah. If you put yourself out there, you can get some help. You don't know. I don't know.
There was heartbreaking stories.
Different times.
Stories of frustration and confusion. People mourning the people that used to be. Some who were new to this world. Some who had been there for decades. I tried to help them in whatever way I could. I tried to comfort people. In my own little way, I became somewhat of a spokesperson for the voiceless. I felt their pain like it was my own. This new pursuit gave me a sense of purpose that I desperately needed. Without purpose, I felt useless. I made a lot of friends, and I'd write to them on a daily basis. Some of those friends died.
Man, he's got so much death in his life.
Some of those friends that decided to take their lives, and they're wicked people. I talked to them a lot.
What?
It was this that ultimately made me decide to stop, but that wouldn't be until years later.
So he reached out. And to all these people, he started to make a lot of friends through the touching base with people in the community, going through similar things like that. And then he just starts hearing more people like freaking killing themselves or thinking about killing themselves. And it's just like, you could see that hit him so hard there. He just chokes up, and it's just like, man, there's so much. He has experienced so much loss in his life, It's brutal. It's brutal. And how he's able to hold it all together after all this time.
This that ultimately made me decide to stop, but that wouldn't be until years later. Immersing myself in the horrors of this illness and trying to carry some of the weight for the others while I still wasn't strong enough to carry my own eventually took its toll.
Yeah, I bet.
Jen Bria had found my videos and she asked me to make a song for her documentary.
Oh.
I was honoured. I wrote a song called Patience. I'll leave you with a video taken at the time to finish off this chapter.
Patience. Okay, let's get into patience.
I've learnt some lessons that will be so valuable for like. So it's a blessing and a curse being this ill, because it's completely changed me. Like it's turned me from
Ren
a
Gill.
cocky teenager into somebody who's quite this, I guess, prepared for things now. Like I feel like once I've gone through this, I'll throw anything at me and it'll be okay. But
Yeah, for sure.
at the same time, as much as I see it as a blessing, I hate it. I do hate it.
Yeah,
I think it was Thomas Edison that was like, I haven't failed, I've just found 1,000 things that don't work, which is kind of nice to look at it that way. Like, I'm just eliminating things.
He's tried
But
1,000
it really
things
challenges
already,
my
we know
mind.
that.
And yeah, it's just gotten to the point where I'm spending, I'd say, like 95% of my life in a bedroom, which kind of sucks, because my mind is in such a different place in my body. My mind craves life so much.
It's alright, it's okay. I'm feeling brave, gonna face this day. It's okay, it's alright. No tears will kiss my cheeks tonight, and it's all good, and I'm just fine. My words ring out like hollow shells. Just slow down, it takes time, but time moves slow, I know this well. And my heart breaks 1,000 times a day.
I want to say time moves so slow, and its heart breaks 1,000 times a day, but time moves so slow. So when you're going through something, like whether that would be a breakup, or in his case, like physical or mental illness or something like that, time does slow down. Man, my sinuses are kicking in, my eyes are watering now. But like it's just the days drag on. I can remember like a few times in my life when I've been down in the dumps and depressed and that kind of thing. It's just like you just can't wait for each day to be over, and it just drags on. So that's some good lyrics. So, by the way, I mentioned this in the first time I ever seen Ren when he picked up the acoustic guitar. I'm like, good, because my favorite type of music is just somebody with an acoustic guitar and singing with some vocals like that. So I love it.
Slow down, it takes time, but time moves slow, I know this well. And my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. But for every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I
good
have
line.
the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
Wow. Man, he's a good songwriter. Some good lyrics. Great delivery too, of course, but right, such encouraging. You know, whatever you throw at me.
This world is quite scary, I know that, 'cause I've been here for some time. But all that prepares me for a day when I can truly shine. 'Cause I've been so broken, and picking up fragments of myself, I'll glue them back together, so I can stand at the edge of this world and yell that my heart breaks 1,000 times a day.
Wow, see, that's beautiful.
For every hope that dies, another one takes its place.
It's just like, yeah, every day I just break into 1,000 pieces and I gotta glue myself back together, but I'm gonna do it all so I can stand at the edge of this world. Oh, freak. So many noises in this house. That's why I can't record during the day. But these live Ren things come on during the day, and my house is like a madhouse. Anyways, getting so distracted here. But yeah, his powerful lyrics. I'm loving it. Let's go back. 5 seconds.
For every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea.
Tell him, Rand.
And I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
Amazing. I mean, it's a catchy
I'll dust the
tune.
cobwebs off this sheath, and I'll take the sword of my belief, and in this storm I will not flinch,
Wow.
and I will not move, no, not an inch.
He's saying, no matter what you throw at me, I'm not going anywhere.
Because
Oh, I gotta say, that's 3 times I thought the song was gonna end. That's why I started talking so much over the song. I normally don't talk over the song, but I literally thought it was gonna end each time. Okay, well, I had a bunch to say. What was I gonna say? Now I'm drawing a blank now. I can't remember at all what I was gonna say. Anyways, let's go.
because I have the strength of a mountain, I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I'll have the heart of a lion, and the stars they burn bright inside of me. But although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
That's right. Woo. Wow. Sorry I was a bit distracted in this one. It's just too much going on in the house. But I mean, it's either that or I won't be able to record it for another day or two. And then I want to keep on top of these each day. But anyways, I love the lyrics. That was, out of all of his songs I've heard so far during these chapters 1 through 5, I think that song is the the best one, maybe the best. It definitely has the most uplifting, positive lyrics about it, like that so many people can relate to. You know what I mean? And it's just anyone who's going through anything, just put on that song, listen to the lyrics, and be like, you know what? I don't care what mountains are in front of me. I'm going to get through them, and just have patience, and you will persevere. Right? Love it. Comment down below. Tell me what you thought of it. Peace and love, everybody. See you later. Take care.